Well, as Gomer Pyle used to say, surprise, surprise, surprise. Hello, everyone. Let me just make sure a couple things here are working correctly. I believe they probably are. Let's hope so anyway. Alrighty. Tonight is the evening of the 9th of February 2020. And yes, I decided to do a live stream. A couple of reasons why. One is because I wanted to make sure I had an alibi that I wasn't watching the Oscars. Hence the name of this, Not Watching the Oscars as the Real World Broils. Hello, all of you as you come in. Plus the fact that I'm actually visiting a place and everyone's gone. They had things to do tonight, and I'm here. You'll probably hear some kids come in a little later that are coming back from their activities. But I wanted to just go ahead and say, what the heck, I might as well make a quick appearance and talk about some things and see what you all want to talk about. Of course, I'm absolutely positive that you're going to be concerned about the coronavirus situation in China and what we're finding out about that, which is really the main reason why I want to be here. But I also want to start off by saying let's not forget the things that have been going on and are not being taken care of. Now, I've made a couple of posts the last couple of days. I told you the one about where Greg Rubini said that some arrests were coming, and then I put the one out this morning where I had also heard from another individual who is very well connected. I haven't gotten his permission to use his name, but he wanted to make sure that we all knew that the information was that I was putting out, which wasn't mine. As I said, I had many caveats about that, and I didn't know for a fact if it was verifiable to the extent that I would like. Yet I've seen Mr. Rubini's reporting in the past, and I thought, well, it's probably worth putting up. And so I did, and like I said, this other individual who was very well connected, called and said, well, that's probably not quite the case. I think we're looking at some D classes happening first, and then some action by Durham, as Barr was saying, in the late spring to early summer time period. So I made that adjustment. As I always do, I'm not here for clickbait, and so that was the first thing I wanted to do is talk about that I still am concerned that President Trump and Barr are not moving with enough speed. Now, as Rich Higgins said when I interviewed him, he said that actually Barr is moving at light speed for government work. Well, that might be true in some cases, but I'm not satisfied with that answer, and I think most of you know as much respect as I have for Rich Higgins regardless. So that's part of the issue, and of course what we're still seeing, we're finding out all of these horrible things that the DOJ and the FBI did to General Flynn, if you're following that, with the false 302s and then forcing him to plead guilty because they were threatening his family, etc., which is really like making a confession under torture. It really doesn't mean anything, plus it's coercion. You make a confession under coercion and it's not valid, and I'm pretty sure that Sidney Powell is going to go after that. Let me turn on this other light just for a second, okay? This will take just a minute. I'm just noticing it's just not quite right. I wasn't going to use this light, but I think it might help to clarify some of what you see. So let's see how that is. The focus will probably be a little weird for a minute, but then it should be okay. The next thing, of course, is this whole thing 5x5. Are we getting good sound? I guess that's the next thing I need to know. All right. Okay, yeah, it sounds like it's good. The light made a little difference. One of the problems that you have with these cameras, I've noticed, is that when you make an adjustment like that, a change, then it has a hard time, refocusing, resetting the white balance and all that, and I should have done all that beforehand. Thanks. Oh, Liza Jean, hello, I'm glad you're here. I've seen you a couple times now. I've seen, of course, Headlines with a Voice here a few times. I've seen Edelson James. I haven't seen Case Smalls for quite a while. But at any rate, I'm glad that you moderators come on when you do. Okay, so hopefully that light there helped a little bit, I think. So, and thank you for letting me know the sound is good. So I wanted to talk about that I'm very upset, of course, still that President Trump said he didn't know who Assange was or didn't really know about WikiLeaks and all that. You know how I feel about that. I'm very upset about it. Assange is in trouble. Flynn is in trouble. Stone is in trouble, all because they stood up for President Trump. And the machinations and frankly, the lies done by the Department of Justice and the FBI in this whole thing are disgraceful. But I don't know that we're going to see any real justice. Like I said, a handful of people might be taken down. I've been saying this for months. We might get a handful, and I've named some of the ones that Rubini named, but I don't know that it'll go any further than that, and it should. It should go at a minimum of 2 tiers down through all these organizations, and then every clerk that had anything to do with it too. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there, but let's not forget about Flynn, Assange, and Stone, and all the others that have sacrificed so much to try to restore the republic. Okay, apparently President Trump has forgotten. He's mentioned them. In the State of the Union, he said a lot of people have been hurt by these bad people in the government. Well, that's a nice thing to say, President Trump, but we want to see these people that have done this pay the piper, number one, and number two, we want these innocent people who have been railroaded to be set free. And that includes a lot of citizens, too. Barr is still going after, as you've heard me talk about, the Bundys. They're trying to retry that. As I told you before, that case was thrown out with prejudice because of the DOJ and the FBI and the BLM hiding exculpatory evidence from the defense, especially the violence that the government was perpetrating upon the Bundys and upon the demonstrators. But the government doesn't like to lose, so it went back and it's asked the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to look at the case again and see if they can get permission to retry it, to set aside Judge Navarro's dismissal with prejudice, which is really asinine. It really shows you how bad the government it is that they would do something like this. And Barr should say no, withdraw it, withdraw that motion. We're not going to go there. But he doesn't, so I really question all of his motives. And the same thing has happened with Flynn. Same thing on the Assange deal with the First Amendment and all of that. And, of course, Stone, holding him to small little details of his testimony. And that's what they do because they're out for a witch hunt. If you think the sky is turquoise and they say it's blue, they get you for lying to the FBI. They're really, really bad. They always have been. So at any rate, let's not forget them, and I wanted to bring that up as well this evening. Let me double check a couple of things here and make sure that we're okay, because when I'm this one-man show, things can really go kind of haywire. Okay, well, it looks like everything's okay. Again, if you'd let me know, I don't know how the signal will be out of here. This is one place I haven't done this from before in this location, so it could go in and out. Okay, well, you notice that this whole coronavirus thing came out right at the time that it looked like Trump was going to be winning on the not just the Russia hoax, not the Russiagate, not just that, but also when the impeachment was starting up. This was, I'm not saying that the Chinese, well, yeah, I am, I guess. The Chinese have definitely said they want to take out Trump and force the USA into the New World Order completely. As I talked about before, Xi Jinping, the president of China, said that at Davos back right after Trump was inaugurated. So we know that they can manipulate these things, but this one may have gotten out of their control. As I've already said, it looks like it was a way to go after their dissidents, to reduce their population, and to send and it looks like it is a biological warfare, weaponized disease. That's becoming more and more apparent. I think you're going to see the pharmaceutical companies and the biolab companies fight this determination with everything they have because they're afraid this could shut them down, and it should. But I don't know if President Trump will have the guts to go that far, and I don't know that Barr is interested in it either. I don't know what type of task force really is going to be able to go after this, but
My gut feeling is, as Mike Adams of Natural News said, I think that they're going to do their best to cover this up. I think they're basically going to reach out to China and say, look, let us help you, and we'll put a lid on this whole thing and make it all go away. And we'll go back to the status quo, which would also mean that the biolabs will stay in existence, and the pharmaceutical companies, along with Bill Gates, will be able to push their vaccines and all that. And I find that to be a travesty. But make no mistake, I do believe, and I'm not, as I've told you before, I'm not a biochemist, I'm not a biologist, I'm not a geneticist, but it looks like to me that this is a bioweapon, and the way China's handling it is using it to go after and jail a lot of their people that they haven't had a whole lot of love for a long time. The numbers are skewed, I think. Headlines with a Voice has put out, Nancy Morgan Hart, I've been tweeting her stuff out pretty regularly. The fact of the matter is that she has a good handle on this and has from the beginning, and has called it, and actually got very angry tonight. If you go on my Twitter line and you look, or go to Headlines with a Voice, what she posted tonight, it's pretty obvious that China has done something really bad here, and they're actually using it to make things worse. And yes, it looks like they have pushed this bioweapon throughout the world, if not intentionally at first, certainly so now. But we don't need to get into all of those things. I really want to see what you folks want to talk about. And this won't be long tonight. Let me let you know I am planning on coming back on tomorrow morning, okay? That's my plan. I'm not sure the time yet. It'll probably be around 8:30 or so, possibly 9, something like that. I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm going to go right to your chat here. And let's see what you all are concerned with, because normally, I talk for a good half hour to 45 minutes before I get to you. So let's do it this way this time, and I hopefully will be able to get some good information. I'm sure you all know quite a bit as well. All right, again, everybody came in. Boy, I touched that wrong, knocked it down. Okay, here we are. All right. Spaced out. You say you appreciate my presence here. Well, I appreciate you being here. I've been a little hard on some people on Twitter tonight. Lee Stranahan sent out. He wanted people to give information about why they dropped Q if they did, and so I thought, oh, what the heck? So I put that in there, and I had a couple of people attack me on my Twitter, and I saw that, and. Again, for these people to think that they know so much about that, just suffice it to say, I was there at Q almost from the beginning. I mean, within a few days of when that thing started, I saw the entire morphing process and how it went through, the different stages and the different people, obviously, that were in control of it. So anyway, some of those people I've responded to in a not so nice manner because of the way that they tried to basically attack myself. And usually I'm not concerned about that, but this is something that's really important to the return of the republic. And if we have this thing continuing, which it has, MAGA, the MAGA coalition with Ginger McQueen and Adam Gingrich and some of those folks, I don't remember all their names. At any rate, they thought that they had pretty much set Q to rest, but I kind of figured that wouldn't be the case. As this thing is being pushed by some very powerful people, and I'm convinced that they're not the good ones. Okay, but at any rate, so when I got attacked on that, and I don't attack people for wanting to follow Q, but if I don't attack you for following Q, I have like calling you names and things like that. I certainly expect that you're not going to attack me for saying I have no respect for Q. Okay, so that's just the way it is, and if that's how somebody's going to act and call me a moron and some other things, I'm going to let them have it, which I've done. Okay, let's see. Oh, we got somebody from Fort Hood here in Alaska. Susan Chalice from Fort Hood. That's interesting. Okay, let's see here if we got anybody. Good. Hopkinson says she just watched Nancy's video. Good. Nancy always has good information. I really like her style. I like the way she does it. She's right to the point. She's not verbose like me. She gives the information and lets you move on. And of course, as you know, I really like people like G.G. Sims, the Conservative Treehouse, some people like that. And Rich Higgins is on Twitter, so I keep track of him as well, and some others. But all those people are great, and I really appreciate them. And I really like Greg Rubini, even though there's some others that find a problem with him, and probably justifiably so. But nobody's 100% correct. You go with what you have, and because of that doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to get clickbait. It just means you got some information you want to share, kind of like I did. The difference between maybe the way Greg Rubini does it, well, I'm sure there are lots of different things that are significantly different. But in my situation, I try to put the brakes on it and give you caveats until we see other events happen that will verify the information. So that's how I always try to approach things. Okay, yeah, the Corona, Rusty Parker, yeah, the Corona cover-up, and I think that's exactly what's going on. And it's because it is an escape bioweapon or it was released on purpose. Now, there's this big argument as to whether it was released accidentally from the Wuhan lab or if it was taken to the animal market and released there. I really don't care. I think those are all really small details that we don't need to know. We need to know where the virus came from, where it was possibly engineered. I'm not certain that that's going to be in Wuhan. I'm beginning to think it will be in a Canadian or even in an American lab, and that people associated with Chinese spies like that Harvard professor probably got it to the Chinese. That's how I'm looking at it. I don't know that, but it wouldn't surprise me. And that would serve the New World Order in a lot of ways, causing this entire pandemonium as it's going to... Mike Adams said it a good way today. He said if they start quarantining, if they close down, they tell people to stay home and isolate themselves, et cetera, to try to shut down the virus, the economy's going to go bad. If they keep people out and let them keep working and keep being out in the public, the economy might keep going at least for a while, but you're going to have many, many more people sick and dying from this thing. So I would myself... of course, you would know that I do this. I would err on the side of having everything shut down, stopping all the travel, et cetera, until the thing is isolated. And it might already be too late for that, but regardless, cutting down the exposure is extremely important at this point. But I've said that all along about President Trump too. I don't like the fact that we're trading our liberties and our heritage, our birthright for a bowl of porridge. I don't like that, and I've said that from the very beginning. It's a balance, but at some point you got to realize that you got to take the big hit. So that's how I view it. Okay, who has mobilized the UN? That's right, Ahel. Oh, by the way, I do see you on. I think it's on Twitter. Aren't you on Twitter sometime? Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but I see your comments and I really like them. And yes, who has mobilized the UN, which is not a good thing in the long run. Alex Jones has been doing a great job covering this because he has so many contacts. He's had, of course, Dr. Boyle on there. He's had Mike Adams from Natural News and some others. Greg Reese has done some great reporting. Shepard Ambellis, who I talked about earlier today, has put out a lot of good information, and so has Cassandra Fairbanks and some others. The mainstream media is still trying to put the lid on this because, they're the leftists, they're the propaganda arm of the CIA, and there was I believe it was let me think now. I'm not sure where that doctor was from now, but there was a doctor that says that he's was he Filipino? I'm not sure. But he said that he's pretty sure that this was released by the CIA. And I have not seen his evidence for that, but if you think about it, you can almost figure that it's going to go back there, especially the way the MSM is covering for the intelligence community, and the fact that they're trying to keep a lid on this entire thing on the coronavirus. Now, I also said early on that the coronavirus appeared to be attacking only Asians and primarily Asian males, and then I heard Alex Jones say the same thing. But then this Dr. Boyle kind of poo-pooed that. because he said that there were some African Americans that had become infected. Well, that doesn't mean that they don't have an Asian gene. Do you see what I'm saying? And the American who apparently came down with the disease in China, I believe is where he is an Asian American. Now, I'm not saying that everyone shouldn't be prepared to do everything that they need to, nutrition-wise, health-wise, sanitation-wise, hygiene, taking the right preventative nutrients. I've kind of already said that, but eating well, and also having especially vitamin C, vitamin D, iodine, and garlic. Those things are really, really important. I heard on Alex Jones, I know a lot of you don't like to follow him, but again, a lot of the information he gets sometimes from his callers is really good. The idea of getting a little drop of iodine on each of your nostrils, probably a good idea during the when this thing really starts going. And you can use that also for a mild gargle. And if you can take care of, the problem is apparently this thing can also go in your eyes, and you don't want to be doing that, of course. But that's how we're looking at things right now. And so we'll just anticipate that we're going to have to keep an eye on it and take care of ourselves. Okay, so that was kind of a long explanation, but I turned your TV down a little bit, Tyler. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, I don't know about Lindsey Graham. He's up and down. He's up and down all the time. I never know. Well, I do know, because the best way to figure out how somebody's going to act in the future is how they've acted in the past. And Graham has talked big and then never done anything, like with the Russia investigation and all of that. So I know he has a lot to lose if this whole thing comes out that he had something to do with the Steele dossier. And also, of course, the reason why everybody's so upset about the supposed aid not getting to Ukraine isn't because they were concerned about the military operations of the Ukrainians and that they could suffer casualties because of it. No, it's because when that aid money goes to these different places, not just Ukraine, but just as an example, Ukraine, the kickbacks that the people in government, especially the politicians, get with their front organizations, their foundations, their whatever it is that they've got there, they get a kickback. That's money that they're basically laundering, and so you're interfering with that. And I had somebody say, come on Twitter and say, well, look, he's President Trump's cutting off of their money supply, and if he does that, they're not going to be able to operate. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not how you fight a war. Yes, you do take out logistical supply lines. Yes, you do, but you have to consider other objectives, other intermediate objectives and final objectives, and not taking out and arresting people for the evidence that's already been uncovered by people like Judicial Watch, etc., is a mistake. And if Trump doesn't act on it quickly, he's going to lose the initiative even on that. So at any rate, that's how I look at it. That this entire thing, and that's wrapped up also along with the coronavirus, that is interfering with our understanding of what's happening to these criminals that are in our government. So I hope it doesn't take the focus of President Trump off of taking out the evil and the corruption and the debased people that are in our government and our institutions that have tried to take us down this road of communism and criminality, debauchery. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, exactly, Janet, we the people. Again, see these things, the Second Amendment situation, both in Virginia and in these other states, and in the federal government itself. You know how I feel about that. Trump made a mistake saying take the guns first and then do due process. That's the wrong attitude. It shows he doesn't understand the Constitution and doesn't have the love for it that he projects. It's prima facie that he doesn't, and that's upsetting. But yes, you're right. Those are things. The whole problem with the first, of course, we still see the First Amendment being attacked. Nothing being done there. Voter fraud, voter well, the whole problem with the whole voting thing is a difficulty. The problem with illegal immigrants getting driver's license, the whole gamut, and nothing's being done on that. And people are saying, well, Trump's going to win 2020. He's got that in the basket. Well, I don't know. We've seen how these things work before, and sometimes some bad things can happen that can really make a mess of our entire country, and it's kind of going that way. Okay, let's see where we are. Now we can see the other side of your face, yeah. And I should have turned the light on before, but I was kind of hoping that the lights, because this thing I put a jacket on because it was a little cool in here, and the lights then start heating up, and then, I got to take my jacket off. Or I was hoping to keep the bright light off, but it wasn't going to work that way. Oh, Baratista, and that's great. See, I appreciate that. Or Batterista says, I don't always agree with you, Roy, but you're a comforting president. Well, yeah, I'm not asking people to agree with me. As a matter of fact, that's not a good idea. We don't all want to be in agreement because you need to see things from opposing sides. That was the fascinating thing about my wife. And as you know, she was a Democrat, and she gave me input from that side, and so it balanced me out quite a bit. I haven't had that for 12 years now, going on 12 years. So, I think maybe that's why I've been a little stickier about things than normal. But when I see the Constitution, I don't care so much about the administrations of government. What I care about is that the protections of the people stay in place. That's what I am so concerned with. The idea of habeas corpus and the Bill of Rights. Those are extremely important to me, and that's the problem. Those are the things that are being attacked. Now she was in full agreement with me on that. Okay, so that may have been something that kind of calmed the whole situation down there a little bit. But I don't expect you to always agree with me, Batterista. But as long as you can justify your position with reason, logic, and facts, I have no problem with that. We might just be looking at the same thing from slightly a different angle or be in total disagreement, but it's when we get to calling each other names that's the problem. And I'm not saying you've ever done that, but when people do, I lose. Sometimes people deserve to have their names, have names called about them. I do that with politicians all the time because they're public people and they know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. Somebody who doesn't really know all the aspects of something, you can't really always call them names. But if they start, I'm definitely going to finish it, at least to the best that I can. So more people coming home. I might have to say hello here just so that they know that I'm busy here. Let's see, who we got? Yes. I'm doing a broadcast, okay? So I thought I better let you know. All righty. You know why I'm here, right? Okay, good. Okay, so, yeah, Paul Cottrell, I know about Dr. Cottrell. Yeah, he does some good work. He does. Louisa Chavez, nice to see you. Hello, I'm glad you're here. See what else we have here that might be important. Well, everything's important, but I'm just trying to get down here and see what's going on. Yes, a Voyager 1776, headlines of The Voice, just posted the best video she has ever done. Yeah, she really cussed them out. If that's the one I'm thinking that you're talking about, that's the one I'm saying you need to go see. Yeah, she called Xi Jinping and our politicians some good names, and the MSM too. And it's deserved. I wouldn't disagree with you, Gordon Moog. I feel that way, that Trump is either uninformed or misinformed about many things. I agree. And a lot of people blame it on his advisors, and that's why I'm upset that he doesn't have a core moral compass. And that's been my concern from the very beginning, as I've said. If you have a good moral compass, it's one thing to have to be advised on the particulars of how to get something done. But when you don't know the issues or you allow people to lie to you about them, that's a problem. Yeah, and that's definitely been obvious. Okay, let's see. Do you agree with Gerald Celente? I'm not an economist, Jackie Koo, I'm not an economist, and I've always explained that my weakest area is, in fact, in the economic side. Somebody who apparently knows a lot about that, of course, Gerald Celente has been doing it for a long time. Um, Black Conservative Patriot, BCP, he is apparently a trained economist. Um, and I don't know that he agrees with Gerald Celente all the way. All I would say is that Gerald Celente he has a lot of warnings. Some of his ideas of investments are certainly, probably fine. But he's been yelling about things as long as, what is it, Peter Schiff has. The bottom's going to fall out, in 60 days kind of thing. That's been going on for at least 10 years that I know of. Not saying it's not going to happen. No, that's not the case at all. But, and I realize it's not an exact science, and you're dealing with people that when they hear that information, they can then manipulate it so that the results change. And I understand that. So that is a problem. But do I agree with him? I don't necessarily disagree with him. Let's put it that way. Okay. Yeah, Trump needs to do more than expose. He needs to act, Sierra 5. I agree. I'm tired of him whining. As a matter of fact, I said that on Twitter again tonight. Somebody put something up. I think it was True Pundit, Michael, I forget his real last name, but he writes under Thomas Paine there. And he said, is there anybody else out there that agrees that we're tired of hearing Trump whine and moan and groan and not do anything? And I said, yeah, a lot of us. So it's really unpresidential, and maybe he's trying to convince people that the actions he's going to take are going to be justified. But that bell curve has already been reached, and I've talked about it before. There are those that are going to love him no matter what he does. There are those that are going to hate him no matter what he does. And he's trying to win those people in the middle, but frankly, I don't think they're going to give a damn. As long as they get their gasoline, their beer, their get to go bowling, whatever their things are, that's all that they're going to care about. And if they're going to come after him, they're going to do that anyway. So I think he just needs to act, period. Dennis Conrad, we need to throw Trump under the bus like he does everybody else. And that's been the case so far. That's been the case. When I heard his State of the Union address, I've talked about that. And then, of course, he had the statement after the Senate acquitted him, and it was very emotional. I could tell. There were some people that speculated that he went along with this on purpose to definitely identify more of the troublemakers. It may be, but it's time to act. So hopefully we see something, as Greg Rubini said, would start happening this week. If not, then Greg had some bad information, and the others that are saying no, Barr's going to hold off until June, or at least late spring or early summer. That's going to be tragic as far as I'm concerned. If they're doing it for political reasons, I think that's the wrong reason, and they can lose a lot in the process, especially our trust, number one, justice and morality, number two, for people like Flynn, Assange, and Stone, and others. And it also puts all of us at a disadvantage because we're not sure how to act ourselves. So make your own preparations. We're just going to have to make sure that we can get along without the government's help, even if the entire country blows up. You're just going to have to be ready to do what you can on your own. Okay, let's see what we got there. Oh, yeah, Hal, I agree Gerald Celente's real. I'm not saying he isn't. I also believe that Peter Schiff is real. All those guys are. They do the best they can with what they are. That's why I say I don't necessarily disagree with him either. On a lot of it, I just don't know. But the best thing to do is to realize that things are volatile and you just need to be ready on your own. So Valerie Moore says it was released from the L4 laboratory in Wuhan. You are contagious in the incubation period, yeah. And that's all part of what a bioweapon is designed to do. It can be found that way in nature, of course, but with the other things that apparently they found, the embeds in virus itself, the different attachments to it. It's obviously been engineered. Apparently they took a SARS type virus and basically attached more things to it, is apparently what they did. And like I said, I'm not a biologist either, so I can't give you all the details. But yeah, it looks like you're right. Yeah. Yeah, I can't disagree. Some people here are saying, where's the storm? There's no justice in D.C. Don't have false hope. I agree, and like I said, I've got to see it to believe it. Yesterday I think I said I got to believe it to see it. Sometimes you do these live streams, and you put the cart before the horse. Yeah, you need to see it before you believe it, and I'm that way now too. But we can take the information that comes in as it comes in and try to process it and see if anything's going to happen. I do not have a whole lot of faith in Barr. I do not. His history just shows otherwise. Has he had a change in heart? Well, I don't know. Even Lionel Nation, Lionel, Mrs. Lionel, Lionel's been saying, "What are you doing, Barr? What are you doing? What are you waiting for?" And he's a lawyer. He's an attorney. Lionel is. He's been in and out of the system. He knows all this stuff. And I have a lot of respect for what he says about that, and that's why I wonder about these people that say no, political expediency requires that Barr waits until to spring or summer, and I think that's the worst possible idea, for the reasons I've already said. Okay, Jeannie Sanders, dang, another delay. Well, let's see. It might be that Greg Rubini is right. We might see an arrest or two this week. Let's hope so. But in the end, like I said, it's only going to be a handful of people. Anyway, I pretty well predicted that from the beginning. A handful, possibly a dozen at the most. I really haven't seen any evidence that anything more than that's going to happen, and that's a shame. They should dismantle the FBI completely. Give that responsibility over to the marshals, and then try to rebuild it. If even that. It's not a constitutional organization as far as I'm concerned. I can see some very important uses for it, but I've never had a love for the FBI. As you hear President Trump and Sean Hannity, oh, we love the FBI, we love our FBI. Not me. I've dealt with them for too long, and I consider them to be an aberration and a corrupted organization, and they have been from the very beginning. William Green, yes, I'm very angry about General Kelly. You mean General Flynn, I think. General Kelly probably is partly responsible for where Flynn is, even though he wasn't there at the time. Some subsequent things. General Kelly was the chief of staff in the White House for Trump for a while. First he was his DHS secretary and then became his chief of staff. But I think you're talking about General Flynn probably. Field McConnell, no. Field McConnell has gone off the deep end. I'm sorry. I've already explained that several times in the last 6 months or so. Field McConnell jumped on the train of Timothy Holmseth and their attacks on innocent people, accusing them of things that were not true. And unfortunately, Mr. Green, he accused me of those things. And he should have known better. I know some of his agents who know me very well, and they dropped him because of what he did. I'm not saying all of his agents did. There are people out there that are defending him, but he went too far, and he made false accusations, false testimonies, false witness, and I think he's getting what he deserves. Sorry. I'm not going to defend him anymore. Earth is seriously flat says, keep in mind that Trump arrested Mr. Luna, a high-ranking official in Mexico, which will bring down Obama, Hillary, and ex-presidentes. Viva Donald, great trust in the plan. I'll have to look at what you're talking about, but no, I don't trust any plan I've never seen. I've heard Lionel say that too. He's been a great Q supporter, but he doesn't believe in trusting a plan he's never seen. And I agree, okay? Especially when you don't see the results of the plan. Especially over 3 years now, we've been told all these things are going to happen that most of them still haven't. Oh, a clock is broken twice a day. You're going to hit some things that are right. But no, and I'm not aware of this Mr. Luna high-ranking official. I mean, just because you get, somebody in the government down there who has ties to the cartel doesn't mean you're going to get everybody. There are other ways to fight this thing in Mexico, and we're not doing it. Okay, and I've been calling for the right way to do it since 2011. If you don't know about that, go see Borders, Mexican Drug War, or Insurgency, which is a documentary I made in 2011. You can see it on this channel. Okay. Yeah, we're up to about, it's probably higher than that too. Edelson James is saying estimated 1.5 million infected. It's probably more than that, of course. Probably people walking around right now who have it and don't know it. Okay. Yeah, this is an economy killer, perspective strategies, as I explained earlier. It's going to kill the economy. It's going to kill a lot of people. That's the balance. You got to, which way are you going to go? Allow it to kill people so you can keep the economy going, which will eventually affect the economy too, because you lose producers and consumers, right? I mean, it's really better, as far as I'm concerned, to do the most you can to prevent the spread of the disease rather than worry about the economy. But by and large, we're dealing with people that were willing to gamble with your life and your loved ones' lives and your prosperity. Don't think that they're gambling with theirs. They're not. Yeah, Gordon Moog, that's right. Gates, he does the Hegelian dialectic thing. He causes the problem, then offers a solution. Yep, that's right. I know. Yeah, tinfoil hat. You're right. I mean, we're actually increasing Trump's. Trump is actually increasing troops now in the Middle East. It's all a big joke. Afghanistan was lost a long time ago before we even went in there. First of all, they had nothing to do with 9/11, and second of all, there hasn't ever been, including Alexander the Great, that's ever won in Afghanistan. There's no way to win a war there. It just won't happen. So Trump's got to stop listening to people like Milley. I'm sick and tired of these generals that got in there and they don't know Jack from Shinola. That's politics and it's wrong, and Trump should know that. I mean, supposedly he has all this trust in the military, and yet where's the evidence? And I can say that because I was there, right? So, I was in the military off and on for 28 years. All right. Whoa, we're jumping around here. Yeah, I know Trump is kind of pushing the vaccination thing now, and that's bad. That's bad news. I know. He's also giving a lot of kudos to Xi Jinping on the way he's handling things there. You see them throwing those people in those vans and that. This stuff's leaking out. No, Trump ought to be yelling and screaming from the top of some tower somewhere about how evil China is and how it's treating its people. I don't get it. Somebody's asking would I ever run for political office. I tried once, a jockey coup again. I tried that once. I was running for sheriff in Salt Lake County. I'm not really somebody that can, under the present circumstances of the things, do a political run. Not that I'm ashamed of my background or anything that people try to point out. Not a bit, not in the least. It's just that it's not something that as a matter of fact, I wrote a thing down. I'm going to say this here. You might be interested in this. Some people were asking me that question, and a lot of people wonder, well, why don't I keep doing all these things in YouTube? As a matter of fact, the War Economy has said that he's going to back, or she, I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman, but the War Economy on Twitter said that he thinks that he's going to give up this entire thing on Twitter once the Durham investigation either happens or doesn't. If it comes out and they're actually going after people, or if they come out and they make the excuses, I've said Barr will do that. It was a big misunderstanding, and they're only going to go after a half a dozen people or so, which I think is the way it's going to go, and I think he knows that too. If that happens, he says that he's done with Twitter and done with trying to make a difference because he knows it isn't worth it. And so I had some people ask me that as well, and of course, I've been going, and then I've stopped at least 2 or 3 times. I think I've done this, but I wrote back to several people who were wondering about, and I even gave it to some that didn't ask for it. But I'll read this to you. I say, at the risk of revealing myself and my foibles, the results of an idealistic view of reality very much misplaced, I am discouraged. I long ago parted from popular society. And that's really true. I'm not out for popularity. I'm not in the popular society. I'm not in the status quo. You've got to be in the world but not of it. And it's caused me some problems, more than I'd want to get to here. But those are the trade-offs you make. Okay, that's just the way it is. Okay. Yeah, Brian Wilson, General Kelly is deep state and was part of the Theranos fraud. He also ensured service members' DNA and blood were given to the cabal. Yes. All those things are true. Yeah. Well, any general officer that made it through the Obama purges is suspect. And I've been saying that since the day those things started. Okay. Yeah, Debbie Gerard, you're right. As a matter of fact, Trump is allowing Monsanto to continue doing GMO food. He signed that. It was either an executive order or it was I think it was an executive order to that effect, that they wouldn't keep hounding them on the GMO thing. Tragedy. That's what I mean. They're poisoning us from all sides. Does Trump not know? Or is he again making an economic decision willing to play with your lives and the lives of your children? I find that unacceptable. I just do. Brass knuckles. Rock and rye whiskey will kill any illness. Well, I discovered whiskey about 2 months ago. A police officer friend of mine, a couple of us were there, and we were experimenting, trying different types. And rye is my favorite now, at any grade. Bottom shelf, top shelf, it doesn't matter. Rye is rye, and there aren't that many differences between the low shelf ones and the top ones other than price, because I like the robustness of the lower shelf. But at any rate, I don't want to say this publicly, but I'll kind of say it this way. Whiskey is a lady that never lets you down. Yeah, it's just, comforts you when you're down and gives you solace. I mean, you can overdo it just like you can with everything, but usually I only have a shot or two when I do that. I enjoy it. I sip it very slowly, and it is medicinal as well. I don't do it for medicinal purposes. It certainly works that way. All right. Yeah, Robert Smith. Oh, you went to Richmond. Good for you. You say you saw a lot of folks there. And the FBI was there, again, to harass good people. I'm sure that there were some troublemakers there, just like at Bundy Ranch. They show up, and I don't object to the government, going into these large demonstrations and looking for bad guys. The problem is that who they think are the bad guys. They've already said constitutionalists, returning veterans, Second Amendment supporters, not Antifa, not people that are trying to tear down the government and the institutions of the Constitution, etc., inside the agencies themselves, like the FBI and the DOJ and the BLM, etc. No, they're after us, and that's the bad part. Oh yeah, Mildred, yeah, and whiskey is a lady that will put you down too. But let me tell you something here, okay? Because I don't know if you'll remember this. It was in the mid-'90s, I believe. It may have been in the early 2000s. There was a radio station that was doing a contest on how much water you could drink within, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. It killed one woman. Are you aware of that? So too much of anything is bad for you. At least it can be bad for you. It can be not healthy. What it comes down to is moderation in all things. That's really what it comes down to. So I don't find, if you're not Christian, let me tell you what the way Jesus said. It's not what a man takes into his mouth that defiles him, it's what comes out of his mouth, because that comes from the heart. And I agree. Yeah, you can overdo it, but you can overdo anything. You can overdo food and become obese. You can overdo tobacco and get lung cancer. You can overdo water and saturate yourself so much that basically you drown your whole body from drinking too much water. And I forget what they call that. Hydrolytic something or other. Hydrolysis, I'm not sure. But it killed her. Yeah, the universe is all about balance. I like that. I like that. Okay, well, we've been going for 50 minutes tonight. Like I said, I think I'm going to plan on coming on in the morning, but I wanted to come on tonight and just touch on some of those things. The big thing, of course, right now is the coronavirus is going to take up everybody's time. We're going to forget about fixing the government. We're going to forget about the war that they're trying to start in Iran. We're going to forget about the situation with bringing the troops home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But by the same token, this thing, even if it is race specific, as I mentioned the other day, if you have a gene, an Asian gene in you, and if this has been designed for Asians, for instance, it might attack primarily people that appear to be Asian. But if you have an Asian gene, the same kind of gene, and with the races having mixed over so many decades and millennia, a lot of us could have that, or it could just attack all of us. You don't know, so you got to be prepared on all fronts. Okay, so get your, like I said, go look at Patriot Nurse. Watch what she says to do, and Mike Adams from Natural News. Those two are pretty good in saying what you need to do to get yourself built up. It's very, very hard for the body to throw off viruses. More than likely, we have all the diseases mankind has ever had in us. It's when our immune system fails that something takes over. And then the real danger are the secondary bacterial infections. Okay, that's where you got to really watch out. Okay, I'm done for the night. I'll see you in the morning, probably, most likely. That's my plan. And we'll do it, I don't know, I'm thinking about, it'll be either 8:30 or 9 or thereabouts. And I know that's probably a terrible time for a lot of you because, other people are on for one. But I am interested in seeing, I'm going to check first thing in the morning, if there's been any indications that things are moving forward against Comey, Strzok, and Page. McCabe, Strzok, and Page, and we'll see if there's anything tomorrow. Hopefully there is. Rubini said it would be Monday or Tuesday, midweek, and then others following. I don't know how positive he is on that. As I said, another source that's a very, very good source told me that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be declassifications coming out very, very soon. But we're waiting and watching, okay? Thanks, everybody, for coming. I'll see you probably tomorrow morning, most likely, okay? And until then, take care of yourselves and sleep tight, all right? Out here.